Change. All right, great. Because my name is Karen Sudmeyer, and I am with the G20 Global Land Initiative. And I'm very excited to be here today to present two of our master's courses that one has been launched and the other one that is under development. And I have with me a fantastic group of people, panelists, who will be speaking. Yvonne Waltz from the United Nations University. We have Tatenda Lehman from University of Bern. We have Audrey Nyazika, who is a supporting negotiator for land issues, Government of Zimbabwe, and with the Youth Negotiators Academy. When we have Vijo Varghese with Our Land Thailand. So please join us. Come, don't be shy. Come and join us. Come and trigger change. It's about education and the importance of education for land restoration. So here's an outline of our program today. It's going to be very interactive, and you even get a little free book if you come to our session. So please join, and a pen as well as a little notebook. It's the best session you'll see all day. So please come. Don't be shy. So basically, we will have a couple of presentations, and we will also have a panel discussion and a world premiere documentary film on a fantastic example of land restoration and education. So who are we? In case you didn't know by now, we are the G20 Global Land Initiative, created here in 2020, recognizing the urgent need for bold, coordinated, and collective initiatives on land protection and restoration. So we have an ambitious agenda, which is to prevent, halt, and reverse land degradation by 50% by 2040. And we really want to do that through education. So here is our theory of change. It really is by working with private sector, by restoration legislation, as well as with academia. So in order to do that, we need to work together. We need to work together with universities, with educators from around the world. So we have also very ambitious capacity building targets. And one of them is to embed education on land restoration into university curricula, because our young people are our future. And there is a huge gap in education on land restoration. I mean, how many of you have actually taken a university course on land restoration? Anybody? See, there's my point. No hands are up. So there definitely is a huge gap. Now, one of our mandates is really capacity building at scale, and we consider land to be a land of opportunity. And through that, we are then developing curricula on co-developing university curricula with partners, worldwide experts on the topic, and world-renowned experts. We have a couple here today. We also contribute to the UN Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, and we are also developing short courses. So for those of you interested, we have our cool boxes here. You can just take a look at that QR code, and you can actually download the course materials right here and now. We have several other courses planned. One that we're developing on urban land restoration. You hear about that. We are also we'll be developing one on post-mining, forestry, grazing land restoration, the business of land restoration. But for those of you saying, well, I already finished my studies and I still want to learn more, well, we have plans for a massive open online course next year, which we'll start developing, and that will be open to all, with the very modest goal of reaching 1 million viewers. Correct, Dr. Murley? So that'll be our plans for next year. Now let's see, before we move to the first speaker, we actually want to hear from you. So I will ask my colleague Veronica Vasilika to help me and to do a short Menti quiz. Let me open that up. Let's see, it should be right here. So over to you, Veronica.
Thank you, Karen. There we go. So we're just inquiring. We want to know where is our audience from. You can scan the QR code or join us at menti.com using that code. Yes, please join. And just spin on the map. Okay, we have our first entries. We have some audience from Central America. Some a bit, we have a couple of continents so far.
Please keep going. I know on your phones the map is going to be so small that if you live in Switzerland, you might put Sweden. That's okay, just to have a general idea and to make it a bit more participatory. Because we feel that education should be very participatory. Keep going, please. Let's see. Tatenda, did you put your dot in Switzerland or Sweden? I see there's a dot in Sweden. Okay, maybe 10 more seconds. What do you think, Veronica? Are you surprised at the results or?
I'm happy with the results. I'm happy we're not all from just our colleagues from Bonn.
Fantastic. We have quite a wide reach. This is really exciting. Should we go to the next question?
Yes.
So,
Okay, so please answer. You should see it on your screens. And we'll see the results live as they. So it is mostly our colleagues so far, apparently.
we have 21% from NGOs, though, quite a few from academia. And who said other? That would be really interesting. Other. Don't be shy. Who said they're other? No? Who are the students in the room? Raise your hand if you're a student. Yes, great. We're happy to have students here as well. And private sector, raise your hand if you're from private sector. Okay, great, fantastic. You're welcome. Should we go to the next? Oh, what are you? Federation of Landscape Architects. You're most welcome. Thank you for joining.
So what does what does innovation in land restoration mean to you? Please let us know. Give us your insights. Hard question, apparently.
You must find something. I'm counting on the students to come up with something quite smart.
We have future, less pesticides, reaching more people, save water, very important, more trees. We have home. This is a very nice one, I think.
I like the way that future is a dominant theme here. Green jobs is up there. Creativity, I like that.
And more awareness on restoration, which is very important. We're trying to do that here, right?
Thinking outside of the box. Great. We do have a box up here on stage, but that's okay. Great. I love it. Future, thinking outside the box. This is also maybe some thoughts for our panelists later on as to some of the responses we're seeing here from the audience. Great. Well, thank you for that, Veronica. And I'm going to invite our first speaker to come up, and that is Tatenda Lehman. And Tatenda, all right, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, keep the applause going. It'll bring in more people to our booth. We have a couple seats left here. Please join me, Tatenda Lehman. He's with the Center for Development and Environment, University of Bern, WOCAT, Switzerland. And he stepped in last minute for a colleague who wasn't able to join. So thank you so much, Tatenda, for being here today. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
15 minutes.
Thank you very much for the invitation. And all for those who actually expected Ingrid now, I'm really sorry it's me, but I try to do my best to present her and to present actually the course Trigger Change, Innovative, Sustainable Agricultural Solution for Land Restoration. So really, what is the motivation for this course to train? What is the motivation? The question would be like, what do we aim to do? So the answer would be really to train trainers to scale up restoration to a global level. And I mean, if you're looking at this presentation, at this publication here, you can see that restoration can be really a profitable business at itself. So even there are a lot of billions could be saved or gained through restoration. But I think I don't have to go into detail here because we know all a lot about land since we are at the UNCCD COP. So the key question again, how to scale land restoration through innovation in sustainable agriculture. And for that, we really need to have the right people involved. It is important who do we want to target, who do we want to reach. So we can see there are the extension agents, the policymakers, the eco-entrepreneurs, NGOs for land restoration, but how can we reach all of them? I think this is coming to the target audience, which are really the students enrolled in agricultural programs. And of course, not only bachelor and masters, because this course is open for everyone, also outside universities. So this course actually has been developed with a huge team of university professors, agricultural experts from all over the world. You can see it here. And I'm from the University of Bern, the Center for Development, working also from WOCAT, and we were in the lead of this course, which we really briefly would like to introduce now. So what is a bit unique in this course? We have 5 modules which build up on each other, but they can be tailored actually by the educators to their specific needs. And we have in total, you will see about 48 hours of class instructions that can be arranged and adopted according to where your class is at the moment, to what level you would like to get in. All of the materials open access. You will see you only have to register, answer a few questions, and you can access the whole package. And very important to really have a learning experience, that it is an interactive course. So there we really have many case studies that shows what is happening on the ground to learn from those who have done it. But also we have interactive discussions and also assignments for the students. So it's not only a frontal presentation, and everything will be introduced. So once you sign in to register, you get this whole package, including the course material, which includes introduction to all the 5 modules. It includes actually all the different concepts that are being used. But then you get all the lectures, these PowerPoint presentations with all the innovative aspects and parts in it. And very important, the case studies. So really case studies, I will show you then a list from all over the world with experiences where you can see how it actually worked. And all of that is being then introduced in trainings of instructors, so in-person and online trainings, that so far we gave, I think, in Asia and in Africa so far, and we will, I think you will say something more about upcoming trainings on that. And all together, it's not only to receive the course material, it's really about to generate this community of practice, to really exchange between the different lectures, between the experts, so you really have the exchange and you can also learn from each other. And for the statistics on how many actually so far accessed the course, I would like to hand over to you for a moment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I personally had the opportunity to work on some of these statistics, and I'm happy to see that they have increased over time. As we said, the course has been launched only in early spring this year, and we can see how many course recipients we have, and we have over 500 institutions that we have reached so far that have downloaded the course materials. Especially if we look at universities and training and research institutions, we can see we have 370 of them, which is what we're targeting with our project, of course. And here we can see of those universities and training institutions where they are from. And unsurprisingly, we can see most of them are from Asia and from Africa, because of course we had our training of trainers for the Africa region in October this year, and we had our training of trainers for Southeast Asia this year as well, actually just recently. So we can see that those numbers are particularly high, and we're happy about that. And hopefully, when the future TOTs will come for Latin America and the Caribbean, and the other regions, will see those numbers also rising up. And possibly also after our translations that will happen next year in Spanish and Arabic. And here we can see the main countries that we have reached. India is a big one for us, of course, and actually we had a workshop there as well. And so, luckily, we were happy to see that it has reached a big audience. And then we can see Indonesia, Nigeria, and Ethiopia, and many other countries that are not shown here for visual purposes, but it's many of them, and we're happy about those results. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, impressive. We have reached since the launch in March, in April. And I would like to give now a short introduction into the course content. So these 5 modules, which I said are building up on each other. So the first module actually introduces the core concepts of land restoration, looking into landscapes, good practices, what are sustainable land management practices, and what are also historical perspectives. After that, the module 2 actually focused then on the agriculture approaches, really going into detail. I will make a small exercise after that on sustainable land management, that you start thinking a little bit about how can we bring sustainable land management to scale, and finally to regions. The third one on monitoring and assessment, it's a very crucial tool for us, because I mean it's really important to have these results and these measurements for adaptive management decision making, and also to really have this for evidence, to really have evidence-based decisions that we can promote at the end. You will see then in the module 5, but in between we have also module 4 with tools on social and cross-benefits analysis. So this is really about decisions making tools to enable factors for land restoration. And then module 5, how it is really possible to innovate and design then business plans to put this into action really. And how can we be innovative? We have seen before, innovative came up as well, and innovation came up as well. And so this is really to link it to real business, to real life. And for that, I really would like to shortly ask you, this is an example from one of the modules. I'll shorten it a bit, of course. So if you're looking at this landscape coming from Ethiopia, what types of land degradation do you see on these images? So we have some answers from the audience. What do you see? What type of land degradation? Yes. Soil erosion, yes. So different type of soil erosion, real gully erosion. Something else? I mean, we are not in a course yet now, but so it's just that you will already get a little bit idea. There are many different erosions happening, or erosion, soil erosion happening, but also very other different types of degradation. And if we're going into that, really students start looking differently at the different landscapes and at their environment. But of course, it's not only important to see what type of of degradation we have. We then need to understand why is it happening. And also then to start to understand the reasons behind what are the drivers that are actually forcing this land degradation and these processes. And once we understand that, we really can come into action to then introduce the sustainable land management practices. Sorry, that was too fast. To really improve the microclimate, the land cover, to reduce surface runoff, increase infiltration, increase soil fertility, the water productivity, to keep it back where we don't have enough water, to drain where we have too much water, to really have the right technologies at the right place. And all these examples from the course are then linked with case studies from the ground, really with the ideas to learn from those who have done it. Because once you see it is working and somebody implemented something, you start believing. And always, I mean, seeing is believing, learning is believing. And with that, I would like to just give you then an idea what we finally want to have after this course, because it's not only introduction to all these concepts, to understand the processes, we really would like to enable then the students to do their own business plans. They learn how to actually prepare a project proposal on land degradation. Because often if you're coming from the university, what happens next? You start with a project, but how do you get a project? So these things really we include in this course to really come to the action on the ground to have an impact. And that at the end of course then to also include it into a landscape business model. Very shortly, also why we are here and what our role is of WOCAT. I'm not going to detail on what WOCAT is. You can visit us actually in our pavilion. It's right over there and we can answer all the questions. But it's a global network on sustainable land management experts from all over the world. And I just want to introduce the database because that's actually what it is also about, sharing knowledge and collecting information from all over the world. And so this database is the UNCCD designated global database for best practices, meaning the UNCCD parties can use this platform to document their best practices and towards the convention. So if someone, as then the students are documenting good practices, they might even have an impact at a global level, meaning this information is going through. And of course, we also follow the open access policies and to really support the users to identify the good practices. It's not only there to document, also to understand what has been done elsewhere that could be implemented at your end. And just briefly to mention, you mentioned before that we are working together also with the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. So the platform is also linked with their monitoring platform where they are monitoring their good practices. And I think that's also key to not reinvent the wheel again and again. And that's also what G20 Global Land Initiative is doing with the Global Land Information Hub, because also WOCAT is linked to the Information Hub and you can access all this information there as well. So I think you already have seen how you can receive this course. You have the QR code here. You can scan it. And with that, I would like to hand over to you again. Thank you very much.
Tatenda, you were perfectly on time. Thank you for that. Perfectly on time. So yes, I do want to point out that our course has been translated into Arabic already, and is now available for downloading directly from this QR code. We will be organizing a training of trainers online course for Arabic states and Middle East in February. So we're already advertising for it now. You can also find at the back of the room here, we have QR codes for all of our courses there. So if you missed this session or you didn't catch the QR codes now, you can come back to those. So with that, again, thank you, Tatenda. I want to see if there are any questions actually for Tatenda since he was so perfectly on time. So you're welcome to ask any questions now. Yeah, please, let me hand the microphone to you, sir.
It's not really a question, but like a willingness to cooperate. I mean, I'm the chair of Education Academic Affairs for the International Federation Landscape Architecture, and would be very happy and willing to give echo to this activity because it's fully pertinent to the field of interest of ours. So I just hope to be in contact to give the chance to let our national associations to know about this, our university to know about this, and then possibly participate in the training.
Thank you so much. And I believe we have a meeting also tomorrow with the International Federation of Landscape Architects. Well, let's see. But we would definitely want to partner with any universities or networks who are interested. So thank you for that comment. Please.
One information for you, like under landscape architect, okay, we cover the world. There are 80 plus national association, and officially under our statistics worldwide, there are 555 programs in landscape architecture. So that's quite a large base in.
I'll be looking forward to exchanging business cards with you, sir. Any other questions or comments on that? That was a very welcome comment. And if not, I'd like to hand over to our next speaker. And our next speaker is Yvonne Waltz. She's with the United Nations University Institute for Environment and Human Security. With that, I'd like to hand over to you, Yvonne, please.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you so much, and welcome everyone. Also from my side, actually, I would like to. I'm presenting now the Trigger Change Innovation Course in Sustainable Urban Land Restoration. But I would like to highlight at this point that normally my dear colleague Simone Sandholz, who is leading this on behalf of the United Nations University, should stand here, but she's unfortunately not able to join here. So I'm representing her, but all the credits go to my dear colleague. Maybe I would also like to start. I liked your approach, Tatenda. Urban land restoration. Who has actually heard about this term before or dealt with specifically urban land restoration? Is this something familiar to you? Is this something you regularly work on? Or do you think this is something new? Can we trigger change with urban land restoration? That's just the question. I think so. I see no hands. You didn't work on it. You worked on it. Partially, okay. But there's not like this, everyone has worked on. We can trigger change with urban land restoration. So this is a course, which is to be launched in April 2025. It's in the making, it's nearly ready. So you can already register here, but this is something I can present you now where we are right now on innovation in sustainable urban land restoration. Why urban land restoration? Why do we need this? More than half the population lives in urban areas, and we have actually still a lot of increase in urbanization trends. So it's really, really important how we manage our land resources, especially because the urban areas are very much depending also on land resources. And we have a still increase in land degradation. So how can we turn the curve around? We need to also address urban areas in this and focus on sustainable urban land restoration. You see here, this is kind of the cascade of restoration. We have ecosystem restoration, where we really focus on ecosystems overall in general, including land, marine space, etc. But then we have also land restoration in specific, the process of halting degradation or rehabilitating degraded land. As a subset of land degradation, we see urban land restoration. And urban land restoration, in the process of developing this course, we have developed a definition and calling it the process of revitalizing urban land that has undergone degradation processes in at least one of its components. So there are actually different components. What we think is important to consider. One is a positive trend in land condition, a long-term enhancement or improvement of at least one of the following: biological productivity or ecological integrity, or the values to human. And furthermore, the process entails avoiding, reducing, and reversing land degradation. So that's the definition on what we build. And what are the steps of urban land restoration along which the course is structured? We follow the LDN response hierarchy on the one hand. That means avoid, reduce, reverse, but build then also on the mitigation, climate mitigation hierarchy, and add the fourth pillar on renewing. I want to elaborate quickly. So avoid means avoid urban land degradation and its negative impacts, including by proactive and long-term restoration planning. So what is not degraded, we want to avoid to be degraded. Reduce would be a next step in terms of reducing impacts from expansion of already generated damage. And restore and remediate would be restore and remediate past damage by restoration action. Renewing is really focusing on the more innovative steps, looking ahead, renewing our relationship with nature through offset and proactive conservation measures. That's actually where we want to go. The sustainable urban land restoration course requires skilled graduates, so we want to have very specific learning objectives. The first one, learning objective, is to understand the value of ecosystem services provided by healthy urban land and the purpose of sustainable urban land restoration. So the valuation of ecosystems is very important because this is what we depend on, what we work off in terms of also ecosystem services and the contributions to people in terms of benefits we can expect. Recognize the process of urban land degradation and analyze their impacts in urban environment. Another learning objective is to distinguish the challenges and benefits of a systems approach to restoring urban lands. That means we need to not only look at the urban area in itself, but how is the urban area connected to its surrounding neighborland? Like, for example, looking at the whole catchment perspective instead of looking at an urban area in silo, because the urban area would depend a lot in the connection of the whole catchment approach. And as a last objective, it's really to identify solutions for sustainable urban land restoration in different contexts. We have urban areas in very different contexts, where we have in dry conditions, very wet conditions. We have very different climate conditions. We have different hazards where we are exposed to in an urban context, etc. And I think this is very, very important. Also, cultural backgrounds very important to consider in these contexts. What is the principle of the courses? So we have, first of all, a modular approach, which is very important, because then educators can really tailor the transdisciplinary materials to their needs. It is a targeted approach. The idea is really to address urban planning, environmental related bachelor or master levels. The materials are all freely available and open source. And we can account on it. You can provide credits as 48 contact hours and free ECTS, but can be expanded. This is what we have, for example, but that you can really make this count in the master or master program or bachelor program. Another key characteristic of the course is that it is interactive and applied. That means the whole course and all its modules are providing case study approaches, experiential learning inspiration. How can you also teach differently, and how can you link it to the real world with the examples provided? And I think this is very, very important to really have also different formats. Despite it's an online course, that you can really be inspired also as a teacher to have the opportunity to use it for a very interactive training and participatory approach. Here's the course outline. There are 5 modules overall. The module 1 is on why sustainable urban land restoration, has 10 contact hours. The module 2 is on approaches in general of urban land restoration, 8 contact hours. We have module 3 on enablers, and module 4 on implementation. And the last module is really the business case module, where we can really move, as already Tatenda mentioned as well, the way towards how can we use this in an applied context and put hands on in generating future projects in that sense. Here you can see an overview of the content. I don't go into detail right now, but here in that sense, you have the why sustainable urban land restoration, where we really go into the basics and the conceptual understanding, theories, but also, for example, you see here the different dimensions of sustainable urban development. What do you consider in economic terms, social term, environmental terms, for example? Then approaches here, it's really this city systems thinking. How can we use this system thinking in terms of integrated planning processes or design principles. Here we have also theories of change and exercises, really in terms of this system thinking. How can you approach this systematically in the given context? Enablers, what are enablers? Policy instruments, finance instruments, the visioning behind all this, or the goal setting. These are which stakeholders to involve. These are key important aspects in terms of enablers. Then implementation, what tools do we have? What are potential assessment approaches, data, mapping, decision support. So all what is the cascade in terms of what do we need for implementation. And then the last one, really the last mile, so to say, how can we get the funding for implementing such projects? And this is where we have a module on business cases and inspiring students really on how to develop own business cases in this context. All of these you see below here, all of them have really case studies and examples in order for inspiration and really to get this exemplified. I give you one very short example. There are over more than 10 case studies throughout the whole course from different countries, from different ecosystems, different city sizes. They highlight all urban land restoration on different scales, from community-led to city-wide initiatives. Here's one case study example from Argentina. It's called the Villa 20, the Village 20, so to say in English, which is a community-led initiative for better livability, health, and participatory slum upgrading in Buenos Aires. And what has happened there is that actually in one of the poorest areas of the city, they have really taken a very active decision in terms of restoring land, urban land, from, for example, originally it was a car cemetery, and this car cemetery led to soil contamination. The soil contamination led to sick children, which could be approved in an epidemiological study, and this led actually into a change to legally support that this space, which was a car cemetery, will be now officially restored and resources will be put in that. And a community-based approach where even the schools were involved into the restoration activities of this area. And this was actually scaling up in terms of really improving the quality of life in the whole region. So that was a very nice example. Now, quickly again to the course overall, the development process. So you see there's already, we are towards the end. It will be launched, as I said, in April next year. We have had already a midway stock taking workshop. It's overall happened in a very, how do you say, participatory approach. You see here a lot of partners and content developing partners are involved here. And the idea is now that this all will be finalized and launched in April together with a training of trainers and a community of practice. That's where we go. And please sign up to stay informed. You can already sign up now. So the launch will be in your inbox when this is happening. Thank you so much.
Great timing. Thank you so much, Yvonne. So we have questions, time for questions also for Yvonne on the urban course. It's true that we don't often hear about urban land restoration, but I think it's time that we do. Please, go ahead, please.
Is this course considered standalone, or is necessary some background? I mean, was considered for what kind of programs?
Okay. Should I go ahead and answer that? So for the urban land restoration course, we consider this to be for landscape architects, for urban planners, for any educators working in the urban sphere, basically. And it would be a freestanding course, like an elective course. So the background for the urban course would be urban planning. So normally this would be an upper level bachelor's course or a master's course. And it's very modular. That's, again, an important point. For both the agriculture course and the urban course, basically we know that it's difficult for educators to get a whole course into a curriculum. It might take years, but educators can take one slide or one module and incorporate that into an existing course already. So I think that is one selling point, at least. Any other questions for Yvonne or Fran? Please.
It's really my concern. In the development of the program, did you have any landscape architect involved?
Should I keep going? Yes. We have landscape architects that are working as part of the co-development. So we have colleagues from, I think, 16 different universities, and they have a variety of backgrounds, including landscape architecture. Okay, the next part of our program is a short panel discussion. So I would like to invite Tatenda and Yvonne to come to the front. Perhaps, Veronica, would you help me? I think we can maybe move the armchairs a bit forward so that the podium is not, maybe this chair here can go a bit forward. And we'll have to move the mics around a little bit. So if I can also invite Audrey to come up and Vijo as well, please. Yes, thank you. I think Audrey has her fan club here. Yeah. All right. Okay, super. Oh, there is space for me as well. So let's see here. I guess we'll keep that one up. Panel discussion. I think we have this one here. Yeah. Let's see. Panel. Okay. So let's see. I think one microphone can go over there as well. Yeah. Can we share? So again, Audrey is the Youth Negotiators Program and supporting negotiator for land issues with the government of Zimbabwe. And also I want to introduce Vijo Varghese, who is a co-founder of Our Land Thailand. So for this panel discussion, I want to also then hand over to Tatenda first to ask you a bit of a general question, but you can answer in any creative way that you would like, which is how does land restoration impact and relate to wider sustainability changes? 2 minutes, no pressure.
Thank you very much. Do I have to fill the 2 minutes? No, I mean, the question on how it has impact on sustainability changes, it is in the sustainability definition per se, isn't it? So how do we tackle actually the different dimension of sustainability? If it is a social dimension, the ecological dimension, the economic dimension, and in our definition of sustainable land management or sustainable landscape management, we always consider all these three dimensions, and we really have to tackle all three dimensions. If it is coming to land restoration, and we have something like a land closure or something like that, we also always have to think about, okay, what is the social dimension behind? We should not forget about that. And what is also the environmental? And then we are coming to the question on how this is then being linked not only to land, but also to biodiversity, to climate change. So all these dimensions are coming together, and I think that's the big challenge in the whole land restoration, but also the chance, because with with land restoration, you can tackle, as an example, all three targets from the different Rio conventions at the same time.
Thank you for that. That wasn't even 2 minutes, Tatenda. And of course, we do cover this in our course as well. So thank you for that. Yvonne, what do you think on that question?
Yeah, I can mainly follow up on what Tatenda said, because this is for us really the entry point for sustainable development, if I say. So healthy land can be the opportunity to adapt to climate change, to mitigate climate change impacts, to address biodiversity loss, and also to conserve soil and ensure long-term food security in the end. No? And this, if we have non-healthy land or degraded land, we actually not only lose this opportunity to solve our multiple challenges we face at the moment, but we also enhance the situation, worsen the situation in terms of biodiversity loss and climate change. So I think this feedback loop is very important to consider, that land is the bottom line of having a sphere to tackle the global challenges we have synonymously.
Great. I don't know, Vijo or Audrey, if you'd like to add anything to that, then you're more than welcome. You want to add anything, Vijo, or on that question? Otherwise, we'll go to the next. Okay, so then Audrey, I have a question for you. Now, I did a little bit of a scientific survey here in the very beginning, asking how many of the colleagues here actually have taken any classes on land restoration, and nobody raised their hand. Though I come to the assumption that there is a gap. What do you think? What are gaps in higher education with regards to land restoration? Did you take any courses on land restoration, Audrey, at school, for example?
At school, yes, I took some courses on land restoration. I did a bachelor's in environmental management,
You speak
and
closer
my
to the microphone.
and my master's is also in environmental management and cartography with the application of geographic information systems. So I did some land restoration courses as well.
Okay. Do you find that there are gaps? This was from your country in Zimbabwe. What is your opinion on any gaps in higher education with regards to land restoration?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to highlight that universities are the key to land restoration, especially when it comes to the participation of young people who have an interest in the land initiative. So first of all, the universities play a key role as the groundbreaking basis for doing research. So there is need for some universities not only to focus on theoretical practices in classes, they should also include some outside practices where they go outside and also participate in the community-based projects that are already existing, and also come up with new projects in the field. So there is need for more engagement with the community and also participating outside of the theoretical lessons that are offered in the university. There is also need for some more funded related research centers, since land restoration requires monitoring and evaluation. There is need to use advanced technology such as the GIS tools and remote sensing. So there will be some need for some university students to also participate in these funded related research centers and programs. And the other thing is also to encourage the youth and the young land initiated students to participate in the international knowledge sharing platforms. For example, I've been part of the Land Youth Negotiator Program, which has been offered by the YNA, which is the Youth Negotiator Academy. It's a good platform where young or youth who have the interest in land initiative to participate and also gain some knowledge and skills to become some skilled land negotiators. So there is need for engagement and encouraging the youth and the young university students to participate in such programs as well. But generally, it's all about awareness. Let the youth and the young leaders be given the opportunity to participate not only in the lectures or in the classes, but also out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Audrey's fan club is going nuts. So here's a shout out to the Youth Negotiators Academy for the wonderful work that they're doing in supporting youth negotiators worldwide. Yeah. Let's give them a round of applause. Absolutely. I want to hand back over to our formal educators working at universities. We heard Audrey saying the need for actually stepping out of the classroom. Is this something that you are able to do at your universities, and what is your experience with that, especially with regards to land restoration? Go ahead,
Thanks
please,
a lot. I
Tatenda.
mean, very important point. Thanks a lot you raised it, because it's really not only staying in class, looking at examples from others. It's really, you see, in German we have this, that we have, if to understand something, it calls begreifen. I don't know who speaks German. That means you have to touch it to understand, actually. And that's what often we realize, if you're not going into the field to really touch it and to understand what the soil is, to see the differences between degraded soil and healthy soil, it's difficult to understand. So I fully support that, and that's what we are trying to do as well. Often, of course, it's becoming more and more difficult to go out with the students at what we realize in our context, but we really push it to keep it on.
Yeah, good. Thank you. What do you think, Yvonne?
Yeah, so actually, I'm leading a module on ecosystems for disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. And as part of this module, I'm actually having two aspects where I think which is very important for all this theoretical learning. And the one thing is that we have accompanied to all this theoretical inputs in terms of, for example, how you value nature and how you bring them into risk assessment in that context, is really to imagine in a practical working exercise, how would this be applied in a certain context. So we do really have shared theoretical input, but then let the students work together in groups, have a huge piece of paper, draw on it, and start to discuss about what would it mean in such a valley of Togo, I would say, for example, not in a certain context. And another thing, what we do is really to have an excursion. That is what relates to what Atenda just mentioned in terms of touching, seeing, smelling, hearing. Also, I think there are many senses we wanna realize, and being outside and seeing what means ecosystem-based measures for a city if you are outside here. And this is actually going outside, but living in the city, meaning this peatland heavily relates to controlling floods in this urban area. But if you go there, going there by public transport, going in this area, living there, but seeing it, I think this is, you have a different relation to it. And I think this urban rural connection of what is surrounding the urban area is also very important, to see it and feel it and go there.
You know, this is an important segue to a question for you, Vijo. So Vijo is exactly, that's what he's doing, is enabling students to come and smell and feel and meditate in nature. So I have just a quick question for you, Vijo, on the role of educators and universities, but environmental education centers in addressing land restoration.
I think I want to first add on what Audrey said. That was really good points. Primarily on the fact just at the university level, you're talking about much lower down. Children as young as 6 years old or 8 years old, studies were done on this in Japan. 46% of them suffered from some version of biophobia. It's a fear of nature. And when children that young fear nature, what percentage do you expect for them to go all the way up and get involved in policy level when they do not understand the need for nature, right? They understand ecosystem services in a book, but do they touch and feel nature enough to fall in love with it, right? And I guess if you look at so coming back to how important it is, I think it's crucial that educators play a large part in taking children outdoors, make sure that they're out in nature, experiencing, using the five senses to touch it. And if you look at the stats, this is really important because a recent study showed that children in urban areas spend less than 12 minutes in a day in outdoor environments. 12 minutes in a day. That is less than the amount of time a maximum security inmate in prison spends in outdoor environments. Think about that. And it is less than the amount of time that a corporate executive spends outdoor as well. So 12 minutes in a day is too short of a time for a child to even start to fall in love with nature. So absolutely crucial to make sure that these children at a lower age are putting in there. And then along the way, when we add up other aspects, academic aspects, higher up, some of them will then move up to a level in which they want to protect and restore land. But we need to make sure that the majority of them, the vast majority of them, at least have some feelings towards nature. Yeah.
Now, Vijo, you were talking a bit about your background in huge corporations, right? And that you were not really enjoying that, and you decided to create your own business, right? You're an ecopreneur. Could you tell us a bit more about how and why you started Our Land Thailand? And I'll, at the same time, multitask and try to get your film up while you respond to that question. Over to you.
So briefly put it out there, after spending 10 years in corporate life, I decided that, hey, enough of corporate life because it didn't seem to have enough meaning in life. It couldn't be any meaning. And the first step was to heal myself. And therefore, what we did to heal myself, what we did was we tried to heal land. So we had a piece of land, which was about 10 acres of agricultural land. There were barely any trees on it. And we basically did lazy conservation. And that's called ANR. It's called assisted natural regeneration, which basically just means you let the land restore by itself, right? We made sure that didn't catch fire. Along the way, we realized that, hey, if I want to keep doing this, we want to continue doing this, we want to make some money out of it. How do we make some money out of this regenerated land? And the first steps was to bring children onto it. because there were so many children who did not have the opportunity to engage in nature or be in close contact with nature. So we opened up an education center and completely immersed children in nature. So things we would do were, for example, we would make them make mud houses. So they would get in there with their feet and with wet clay soil and rice husk, mix it all up, and eventually they would make mud houses. But more than the mud houses, it was the memories, the joyful memories that they had that the students always remembered more. And eventually, now over the years, we have managed to protect about 12 acres of land on a critical corridor, which allows wild elephants and deers and jackals and several other animals to go through. And over the years, we've also had about 4,000 children come through our land as an education center to learn about nature and to be in nature. Yeah.
Let's give Viju a round of applause for that fantastic story and very inspiring story of how land is opportunity. I'd like to pause here to see if we have any questions or comments for our panelists before we move on to learning a bit more about Viju's story through a documentary film that we've just finalized. No? Okay. So, as part of our course, we're actually developing best case documentaries. So, we will have at least 2 best case documentaries for each of our courses. And here is one that we would like to just been finished. We would like to show telling Vijo's story. So, let's see if we can get this one to work. So, is it at the very beginning? I think so.
Where children and adults come to learn about being in nature, about how to spend the three core pillars of our conservation, sustainability, and
Oh, no, it's on mute. Nice.
accessing farmland is generally less. You don't have water. Before this, and then we get to a spot that the elephants come and you walk through the, you learn about how the elephants manage the ecosystem. Being in nature should look really in developed countries, 5 to 10% of people makes sense. And I think the main reason is that they're not getting enough nature. What we are basically doing is working on their biophilia. Biophilia is a fear that people have. We're moving them from biophobia to biophilia. And love for the peace of mind that our land owns is part of the plan that allows bioregions to go from South Carolina to Thailand. Our objective is to provide corridor that allows them. We have not completed the corridor yet. We only acquired about 12% of the corridor, and our objective is to acquire more so we can allow easy access. In the past years, we have been fortunate to put through documentation to the local government and put streetlights in place because most of the crashes take place at that. As we see like huge figure going across the road. But the big fleet doesn't use the we take visitors out to the local community and do activities with them, planting new trees, spending time with them, while trainers, caring for the plants, and also visiting the community first. We all want if we weren't determined and more passionate, we wouldn't be having to do it all the time. Or we wouldn't go out of our way to try to get there. Our land is simply a deep love for nature. It's a need to be in nature. It's a need for people to realize that humans are not separate. Researchers have looked into it and found that about 120 to 140 years per week, a good amount of time to spend in nature. That's what the our land concept is. It's just very
Well, Vijay, what do you think? I'm Merle, my director, went to visit your place, and I was just wondering if he got to float down the river as well. No?
No, he
Because
did.
I want to sign up for that program, please.
But he did handle one of the snakes that we had.
He did handle snakes, though. I'll go for river rafting over snakes, though. But yeah, what do you think, Vijay?
I mean, video aside, I just wanted to add as a point that I come to an event like this and I see so much effort being put into conserving nature. We all see it. The UNCCD is working on it. So many different booths working on it. But I just want to add in that our challenge is not just conservation of nature. Our challenge is in nurturing a generation that also wants to protect and conserve it as well, right? And it might seem like a gargantuan task because protecting nature, conserving is such a big thing, so many big things to do. But we can always start by taking a walk in nature. Just want to put that out there. Yeah.
I also thought the slingshots were pretty cool. It took me a while to figure out what we were doing, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool as well. We're getting close to the end now, and I'd like to do one more interactive exercise with you to make sure you're all staying perky and awake. You want to come back up, Veronica, and help me? Is there a question? Mary Graff, let's see if we can get a microphone over there while we're setting up the last question. Please,
Thank
Mary
you.
Graff. Mary Claire,
I have
sorry.
one question actually, because in the end of the video, you just mentioned that the research showed that around 120 to 140 minutes per week, right? Per week. But that's very little. I mean, that's almost nothing, right? It's like if you're going out on the weekend, like you should spend more time. I was really shocked and surprised because I think we should like spend like at least a day in nature that you can really immerse. Because what I see sometimes people go to nature, and also as you very beautifully showed in the video, you come and you're very like stressed energy to then you kind of run through the forest and like, but that's you haven't done anything else. Like the impact on your body hasn't calmed you down, hasn't grounded you. You have not I still feel you look so separate, and I was very surprised. So maybe like you can cite the study or something.
I want to
I-
quickly add a side note to her, very quickly, because she comes from Switzerland. So for her, 120 minutes actually feels very less because she has access to nature just like next door.
So you have so just a question. Have you spent more than 2 hours in the past week in nature? Uh, you went to the desert. Okay, okay. And just to point, 120 to 140 minutes was the study done for low cortisol levels and being fairly okay. Like that's the minimum you should be doing if you're living in urban areas, right? So that's the minimum that you should do to be okay, happy. I would agree that you should spend days in nature. Yeah, that's a good way to go. Yeah, yeah.
You've convinced me to quit my job and spend more time in nature. Sorry, there won't be a MOOC next year, Murali. I need to lower my cortisol levels. But otherwise, let's move to the last question now. Veronica?
Thank you. Could you please scan the QR code again? And there we have our question. So, if you had a magic wand, what would you do to promote land restoration in your country? Please give us your magic tricks. It's a hard question, I guess. Our audience needs some time.
This is our last assignment for you, not only for the students, for everybody else. Just throw us, we've given you a magic wand, take advantage of it. What would you do to promote land restoration in your country? 3 words.
Okay, we see our first responses. So, what would you do to promote land restoration? I guess expose children to nature. This is what we're talking about. Very important. Use social media. I guess to promote nature, to bring people closer to it. Use technology. Inspire, inform. Use indigenous knowledge. I think this one is also key for any successful project in land restoration. Um, we need money, of course, financial incentives. I see a pattern here. We need more plants in cities. We need to reverse desertification. This would bring us more fertile soil. We need more community engagement and to convince the government. I think this is also a very important point. Um, we need to we need to include youth in decision making. Another key ingredient for our successful restoration projects. What else? We need to go more out in nature and connect with culture. I guess It means considering cultural differences, right, in our restoration projects and our divulgation on land restoration. Karen?
Let's give a round of applause for that. Yeah, very inspiring. I love the way that inspire and inform are in the center, and that's exactly what our course is about. Let's see, Tatenda, let me start with you for closing remarks. What do you think? What are your keywords? What did you put down for your magic wand, by the way?
Which one is from me? It's really going out to the nature, but I just want like to come back that we have found in some research we did in our database, we found some similar results. So we looked into 480 good practices documented to see what are actually the hindering conditions to implement good practices. And there we found, of course, finances is always coming up, but then knowledge management and inform, inspire, these topics, they are key, and at all the different levels, and that's quite impressive. And I think with this course now we really can tackle that and start from at the root level, really with the youth.
Thank you, Tatenda. What about you, Yvonne?
I didn't put anything yet here, but I can add my perspective now, actually. So if I would have a magic wand, I think my magic wand would be to give recognition in a comprehensive manner of the diverse values of nature to land, let's say. That's for me what is very important. I saw here one aspect was to plant 1 billion trees. I wanna say that from my side, I really think to to do this science based. I think it's very important that we use this ambition, but to do it science based to avoid that we go in a wrong direction, which is happening right now, unfortunately. Despite a very amazing ambition, we are going also sometimes in the wrong direction here. So I think that's my point.
Thanks for your final words. What about you, Audrey? What do you think? What are your final words, or what did you have on your magic wand?
Okay, so unfortunately, I didn't manage to write anything here, but I would like to add on to just say that let's raise more awareness on land restoration. And when it comes to land restoration, it should start with you as an individual. It's not only through being pushed by someone to start on a project. You can just go out and plant a tree. Every action has its own addition towards land restoration. And also, I have a comment, or I would like to say to the universities, please give the students more opportunities to work on projects. Allow them to have projects, monitor the progress so that we assess if there is land restoration that is really happening. Please give them the platform. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not just Audrey's fan club that's applauding, but others as well. All right, Vijo, what are your final words?
I'd like to add that maybe there's a lot of government work going on over here, obviously, we're here, right? And international organizations. But I think at a private level, everybody, as exactly as Audrey said again, at a private level, we can all be involved in some version of conservation. The same thing happened with us when we started off. We actually rented 12 acres of 10 acres of land for $1,000 a year. That was how cheap it was. And then after some time, we figured out a monetary system, financial system in which we could fund the whole thing. So I think that privatized conservation should actually become a thing. Everyone can do their part, whether it's planting a tree or renting some land or doing anything in that part, coming together as a group and doing that. So we need to think of conservation as our responsibility and not just of the government, or it's WWF to do it, or IUCN to do it, or the CCD. It's not. It's ours as well. Yeah.
Let's end on that note. Conservation is our responsibility, and also through education. So, with that, colleagues, you've been part of Trigger Change. Please stay tuned for more courses. We will be working on a MOOC next year, which is open to all. And anyway, you can still download our course that's already been launched, Innovations in Sustainable Agriculture for Land Restoration. The next course, Urban, is in the making. And thanks again to all of our speakers. Round of applause for them. And also to you for this session. So with that, thank you very much. And I look forward to staying in touch with all of you. Thank you.